My mother walked into the legal aid office where I work, gave the receptionist her name, and looked straight through me, her own daughter, standing there with an armful of case files. In her tote bag, I already knew, was a gray notebook. Every dollar she'd ever spent on me since I was 12, itemized with interest. My name is Sadie Marsh. This is the invoice my mother finally came to collect, and what I handed her back. I'm 31, a paralegal at a legal aid office in Springfield, Missouri. 21 days before my mother walked into my waiting room, I was 3 weeks from closing on my first house. 9 years of saving, $38,000, no cosigner. When I was 12, my mother sat me down with a pad of paper and a new word, extras. Shampoo, notebook paper, school pictures. Anything that touched only my life got reclassified overnight. She wasn't poor. My father had steady warehouse work. We had cable, roast on Sundays. This wasn't need. It was policy. At the end of that first month, she handed me a torn strip of paper by the stove. My first invoice, $11.50, itemized in her perfect upright handwriting. She watched me read it, pleased, the way teachers look when a slow student finally catches on. There was a gray, grid-ruled notebook that lived on the kitchen counter, and inside it, tucked at the front, older yellowed pages in a different hand. Slanted, harder. Someone had started that book before her. It would be 3 more years before I found out whose handwriting that was. And by then, that notebook already had my entire childhood priced out on it, page by page. At 14, over a boxed birthday cake, my mother made it official. Food, clothes, school things. All mine now. My father studied the tablecloth. My older brother Marcus, 2 months from moving out, shrugged. She did it to me at 16. You'll live. That night she showed me the pantry, masking tape labels on every shelf, mine bare and empty at the bottom. Nothing in this house is free, she said gently, like a blessing, and left a single box of spaghetti with a sticky note. Starter loan, $4.80, interest-free this once. I built my whole life around Ohio's, around Missouri's child labor limits. Weekend market work, babysitting, an ice cream stand in summer, peanut butter from the big tub, thrift store jeans, pens bought with my own cash. I applied for free school lunch myself. Denied, because on paper my parents made too much. So I ate every other day and lied about why on the off days. A gym teacher noticed my sneakers falling apart, glued twice over. My father watched me fix the shoe one night, opened his mouth. Sadie, maybe we? And stopped the second my mother walked in from the garage. I stopped believing anyone would ever catch me and turned that into a religion. Pay first, owe no one. Because every seat in the world, I believed, had a meter running. Winter of 9th grade, I bought a $9 thrift coat with my own money. My mother drove me there and waited in the car. Almost touching, I thought. That Sunday, the notebook was open to a fresh line. Gas to thrift store, $4. She'd billed me for the ride to buy the coat I already paid for myself. That night, I started my own notebook. Not debts, just dates. March 14th, my 18th birthday, counted down like sailors marking a hull. 10th grade, I fell asleep in class from an off-the-books morning shift. A school counselor, Miss Reyes, gently probed and got nowhere. I was polite, feeding myself, pulling A's. Neglect hides best in honor roll students. My father once pressed a folded 20 into my hand in a library parking lot, hands shaking. "Don't tell your mother." He almost said more. He never did. Then, October, 15 years old, a manila envelope taped to my bedroom door. Rent, $250. Do the first or make other arrangements. When I asked what other arrangements meant, My mother walked to the hall closet and showed me an empty navy duffel bag, tags still on. She'd bought the bag for my leaving before she ever named the price of my staying. I proposed a payment plan. She rejected it flat. Rent isn't a negotiation. So I sold my bike for $45, taped every cent I had to the kitchen door like a landlord's payment, and ate spaghetti and margarine for 3 weeks straight. By December, the math had no answer left. Alone one Sunday, I opened the gray notebook myself for the first time. 6 pages of my life, itemized back to age 7. School pictures, cough syrup, my own birthday cakes, totaling $1,914. Tucked inside, a yellowed page in a different hand. My grandmother's own rent ledger for my mother, 1984, circled late in pencil. My mother had inherited this exact machine and simply kept it running. That same December, I collapsed at the produce stand from hunger. My boss, Dot, fed me eggs in silence, then made me say the situation out loud. "It doesn't sound right, or the quieter you keep it," she told me. Days later, at school, my backpack tipped and the rent envelope spilled onto Miss Reyes's carpet, printed like a shipping label, impossible not to read. She closed her door and asked 3 careful questions. As a mandatory reporter, she had no choice but to call Children's Services. "You are not the one failing here," she told me. "The sentence I've carried like that folded 20 ever since." She picked up the phone while I was still sitting in the chair, and the county moved faster than any nightmare I'd ever had. A caseworker scheduled a home visit with 48 hours' notice. Enough time for my mother to stage the entire house. Groceries bought for inspection went straight into the notebook as another billed expense. Masking tape labels vanished from the pantry. Oranges appeared in a bowl we'd never owned before. But the caseworker asked to see me alone at school, and her questions were quiet, methodical. When did the food stop? Who signed the work permit? Could she see the lunch denial letter? I answered everything. My life had already been a file the whole time. The permit, the paychecks, the school nurse's weight records. All my lying had only ever protected the gap between those records. Neglect was substantiated. A formal case plan followed. Food, clothing, and school costs guaranteed. No rent, no fees, ever charged to a minor. My mother signed it like the pen was being held to her back. Afterward, my counselor connected me to a legal aid clinic downtown, where a young attorney handed me a yellow folder. Plain English proof, in writing, that a parent legally cannot charge rent to their own minor child. That night, my mother opened a brand new page in the gray notebook, headed neatly, State Interference Costs. She had opened a ledger against the United States government itself. At 18, graduation dinner, boxed cake again. My mother set the notebook beside my plate, opened to a page totaling $9,340. Everything since the case plan, plus the cost of the inspection groceries, plus her own gas and hours. "The county's out of it now," she said, almost warm. "We'll take monthly payments." I went upstairs, packed the same navy duffel bag she'd once bought for my leaving, came back down, and set my house keys squarely on the red total. Consider the account settled. I walked 2 miles to Dot's, who met me on the porch. Room over the garage. Rent as you water my tomatoes. 13 years passed. Night school, a paralegal certificate, a job at the same legal aid office whose yellow folder once saved me. This past October, 3 weeks from closing on my own house, my mother appeared in my waiting room with that same gray notebook. That night, my brother called. My father's heart, a stent, sick pay run dry, 3 months behind on rent, a 3-day eviction notice already served. The ask, I co-sign a new lease, or they move in with me. Either one would collapse my own closing. At the meeting, my mother slid the notebook across. An 18-year total, boxed and underlined, $52,000. "Pay it and it's finished," she said, voice softening into something close to pleading for the first time in my life. "You come to Thanksgiving. You're our daughter again." For exactly 4 seconds, I wanted it so badly my teeth ached. The whole warm package, retail price, $52,000, financing available. Then I looked down at the notebook and finally knew exactly what I could actually afford to give. I didn't push the ledger back. I set my own yellow folder on top of it instead. A completed rental assistance application, a cardiac hardship program with a direct advocate line, a senior services appointment already booked, a plain English eviction timeline. Real help, not ransom. "It's what saved my life once," I told them. "If you let it, it'll hold yours." "That's paperwork," my mother said. "We're your parents." My brother, on speakerphone, added, "You have savings." That was the moment it clicked into place. "If I pay this page," I said, "there's always a next page." That's how the notebook works. It's how it worked when Grandma kept it. My mother reached for the words, "after everything we," and couldn't finish the sentence because there was no honest way to. She swept the notebook back and walked out. My father, silently, pulled my yellow folder toward himself with both hands. The first time in 18 years he'd chosen a side out loud. The fallout was real. My brother left one calm, furious voicemail. "Don't call when they're gone," and hasn't spoken to me since. An aunt's group text called me shameful. I let the family record write itself without me correcting it. 2 weeks later, my father called me directly for the first time in my adult life. The rental assistance had gone through, and then, quietly, he paid a debt of his own. 7th grade. The sneakers. I saw it, Sadie. I bought a lottery ticket instead of shoes that Friday because shoes would have started a fight. I've owed you that sentence a long time. He didn't ask for anything back. Days later, I closed on my house. The first thing I did was fill every pantry shelf and put labels on nothing. Here's what I learned. Love that comes with an itemized bill was never love. It was a lease you never signed. You were allowed to close an account you never opened in the first place, and doing it isn't abandoning your family. It's refusing to abandon yourself. If this story reminded you of a kid who always seemed a little too self-sufficient, ask one more question. The capable ones are usually the best hiders. Drop your city or state in the comments. I read every one. And if you want more real stories like this every week, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. It genuinely means everything to this channel. Until next time, no ledger on earth outweighs a pantry with no names on the shelves.